Okay, let's unpack this. We're about to dive deep into, well, one of the most profound spiritual journeys in the world, the Hajj pilgrimage.
Yeah, and our source material today is just a single text, but it's incredibly powerful. Looks at Hajj from a really unique angle, Goes way beyond just describing the rituals.
Exactly. So our mission is pretty clear. We're going to dig into this text to understand Hajj not just as like a religious duty, but as this deep personal journey, and universal too.
Right. Connecting those ancient symbols to things we all grapple with today. Loss, displacement, that search for meaning.
And the text gives us this incredible way in, doesn't it? It focuses on the story of one man, a refugee named Halit.
And you'll see how his life, his struggles, and then his actual experience of Hajj just illuminates these deeper meanings in the rituals. His journey is kind of the key, really.
So tell us about Halit. Who was he before all this?
Well, the source paints this picture of a man who really loved his life, an urban planner, loved books, maps, the land itself. He was a builder,
Well, it's a build. And
then, well, the source says basically overnight, everything just collapsed. Chaos in his country, law, dignity, gone.
Oh, wow.
His home raided, his books, his treasured books, suddenly evidence. He lost everything, his status, his work, his savings, everything.
And it didn't stop there, did it?
No, prison, just waiting. No charges, no defense, just waiting.
Terrible.
And when he finally got out, he was stripped bare, passportless, jobless, stateless, homeless. He ended up walking through mountains, crawling under wire, refugee camps.
The source mentions the sleepless nights, doesn't it? Haunted by his children's hungry eyes.
Yeah, it says his body and soul both became refugees, just utterly broken.
But somehow, amidst all that, he found solace.
Only, the text says, in those quiet moments he would carve out for prayer. That was the only time he felt like himself. Truly human.
And then something completely unexpected happened.
Totally unexpected. He got into the Hajj lottery, a chance to actually go. Can you imagine?
After everything, what was his first reaction?
It's just heartbreakingly honest. He asked, how can I go there? With such a dirty heart. He felt so unworthy.
Wow.
But the call, the desire, it was there. So he went.
And this is where the source really starts to challenge how we might normally think about Hajj, right?
Exactly. It argues Hajj isn't just another act of worship like, say, daily prayers or giving zakat. I mean, none of those have their own surah, their own chapter in the Quran named after them.
But Hajj does. The Hajj Surah, Haqq-Suraysi, that's unique.
It's completely unique, and the source describes Hajj itself as more than worship. It's called a unique Congress of Unity, a Tevhid Kongresi.
A congress? Why that word?
Because it literally gathers people from everywhere, every language, color, class, background you can imagine.
All converging, same time, same place.
Wearing the exact same simple white cloth, the Ihram, stripping away all those external differences.
So why elevate this act, give it its own surah, call it this congress?
Well, the surah itself offers a huge clue. The source points out how it begins and repeats this address. O humans, Ayyuhanas.
Not O believers.
No, O humans. It appears multiple times, verses 5, 49, 74. It's a call to everyone, all of humanity, every searching heart. It's universal.
And that surah, the text shows, is packed with themes.
Oh, absolutely. Divine names, the symbols of worship, justice, responsibility, and critically, this theme of displacement, tesir.
Right. And looking at it sociologically,
the source argues it builds this incredible community consciousness, ummet bilinci, something that just washes over all those identity divisions we cling to.
which has huge implications, potentially.
You could see it, the source suggests, as a model for global peace. A stand against racism, classism, nationalism. It emphasizes human rights, protecting sanctuaries.
And it connects directly to supporting the oppressed, refugees, linking back to specific verses in the surah, right? Verses 39, 40, 41 about rights and freedoms.
Exactly. That connection is explicit.
That theme of displacement, tesir, you mentioned. The source really digs into that.
It really does. It highlights verse 40 of the Hajj Surah, which defines being unjustly driven from your homeland as a form of zulm oppression, even calling it a kind of genocide.
So it's framing this not just as a tragedy, but as a profound injustice in divine terms.
Precisely. And this, the text argues, is how Halit's story and the story of millions of refugees today isn't just a side note. It's brought right into the heart of the Quranic message through Hajj.
It's woven in.
Yes. And then there's this beautiful contrast the source draws. Oppression exiles people. It pushes them out.
That mercy.
Mercy embraces, it calls them in.
Which leads us to the actual symbols of Hajj the Shirula.
Right, the signs of Allah. The source stresses these aren't just, physical motions. They're meant to cultivate takvabalinchi, a consciousness of piety deep in the heart.
So it's not just about fixing behavior on the outside.
No, it's about reorienting the soul's direction, the inner compass.
Okay, so let's follow Halit on that inner journey, as the source interprets it. You said he wasn't just walking to places, but into himself.
Yeah, exactly. His own life, his loss, his struggles, he found echoes of them in these ancient symbols. Each ritual sort of unlocked something, healed something.
Let's start with the Ihram, the 2 pieces of white cloth.
Imagine it. Stripping off everything, your identity, your country, job, labels, all gone.
For Halit, being passportless had been a source of suffering, right?
Yeah, total lack of status.
But here, suddenly that lack became equality. Everyone was the same. He realized, the source says, that nothing was left but being just human.
Just human.
He felt like only a human for the first time in years. The freedom in that, after losing everything the world values.
Wow. So the Ihram is this great equalizer. It invites anyone, no matter who you are outside, to remember that fundamental identity, just a human being before God.
Exactly. Then comes the Tawaf, circling the Kaaba.
And that huge crowd.
Yeah. And Halit felt this emptiness inside. He'd lost his center, his direction in life, utterly adrift.
Makes sense. But as he circled the Kaaba, that ancient focal point, he had this realization. The true center is Allah. And if that center holds firm, maybe his life could find its orbit again.
So the circling isn't just physical movement, it's like finding your axis again, especially when life has thrown you completely off course.
That's how the source presents it, a recentering. Then the Saba, running between Safa and Marwa.
The ritual reenacting Hagar's search for water.
And Halit felt that connection deeply. Hagar's desperation, her persistence running back and forth in the desert for her child Ishmael. It mirrored his own relentless struggle, his own searching and helplessness.
And the source highlights that key moment in Hagar's story, doesn't it?
Yes, when she calls out to Ibrahim, "Who are you leaving us to?" And he replies tearfully to Allah.
And her immediate response.
If we're entrusted to Allah, then there's nothing to fear. She realized she wasn't abandoned, but left with the Lord.
Powerful.
And Halit, there in that valley, felt the same. He felt entrusted, not abandoned. Oppression drove him out, yes, but he felt mercy had called him in.
And the lesson from Sai, the source points out something crucial about the timing of the water. Zamzam.
Right. It didn't appear after she stopped running. It gushed out while she was still desperately striving.
So the message is?
You have to run. You have to strive. Kuzmak Garrick, as the source puts it. Even when you don't know where the help, your Zamzam will come from. Keep moving. Keep trusting.
Action fueled by trust, even when you feel hopeless. Okay, after Sai.
Arafat, standing on that vast plain, in silence. The source calls it a place of confrontation.
Confronting what?
For Halit, confronting his past, his brokenness, regrets, the anger he still carried, standing there with thousands, but feeling profoundly alone with himself.
So not just praying outwardly.
He was talking to Allah, yes.
Yeah.
But the source says for the first time in years, he was really listening to himself too.
That's interesting. Arafat as a space for deep self-listening, recognizing the inner reality.
Exactly. Then came Mina and the stoning ritual.
Casting pebbles at the pillars.
And Halit realized he was carrying his own stones inside. Heavy ones. Hate for those who wronged him, resentment, guilt.
Things he couldn't let go of.
Right. So as he threw the pebbles, he wasn't aiming at some external devil. He was aiming at that inner darkness, those burdens.
And the effect.
The source says he felt lighter with every stone. Freer. He started to forgive himself, others. He started to feel like he could embrace life again.
So the ritual becomes this channel for actively shedding internal negativity, casting away the things that weigh you down.
A very literal act of letting go. Finally, the sacrifice.
Kurban.
Usually understood as sacrificing an animal.
And Halit understood that, but he also saw a deeper layer. The real sacrifice for him was surrendering the things he valued most internally.
Like what?
His fears, his fixed expectations about how life should have been, his anxieties, letting all that go for Allah.
And that surrender wasn't painful.
He learned it wasn't pain, it was freedom. Profound freedom.
Wow. Sacrifice as liberation, not loss. Giving up the inner chains.
Beautifully put, yeah. So pulling all this together from our deep dive into this source, the core message is really clear, isn't it?
Absolutely. Hajj is so much more than ritual. It's this deeply transformative inner journey.
The source frames it almost as a kind of ongoing process, right? A name for resistance, surrender, trust, faith.
Yeah, all happening simultaneously. And there's that poetic line, Sometimes the deepest Zamzam, that life-giving water, it gushes from a well opened right in the heart.
And we have to remember the context. Over 100 million people today, forcibly displaced like Halit was. His story isn't unique in that sense.
No, sadly not. Which makes the source's perspective even more resonant. Oppression exiles. It pushes away.
But mercy embraces, it calls in.
And maybe the greatest migration, the hikrit, isn't always across borders. Sometimes it's that journey inward to the heart.
So this deep dive through this one powerful text has really illuminated the universal call of Hajj, hasn't it? Its power as a symbol of unity against all kinds of division.
And its capacity for profound personal change, offering a way to find your center, to embrace life again, even after unimaginable loss.
The source really leaves us thinking. It says, for anyone who's lost their direction, their hope, their innocence, the Kaaba remains a qibla, a direction point of unity.
And through Hajj, the whole community draws closer to each other and together, closer to God.
Which brings us to that final question for you listening. What does it mean for you to find your qibla, your own unshakable center, amidst the chaos and complexities of your life?